And I told him what I was doing. I was working for a brother of mine over there driving machinery and lorries. And he said, would you not come back and play with Birr? And I said, I would if I got a job. And so he said, he came back to me about a week later. He says, listen, there's a job going in CIE, lorry driver's job going in CIE, and why don't you give it a lash? And he was telling me about this new shore coming to Birr, Father Carey, and if we can get him involved, it'd be mighty, you know. So I went into the test and got the job, and sure, met Father Carey, and I knew there was something different about 71 then. He brought us all together, and you couldn't go up or down the main street, but he'd be burping the horn and get you into the car, and he used to smoke a pipe, and there was a spring in the middle of the pipe, and the smell of the lovely tobacco, and he was all the time, he had everybody, he had even, not only the hurlers, but their families interested in hurling that year,
yeah. He created great atmosphere. There was a great atmosphere throughout that year, and we organised a lot of practice matches, much more than we ever played before.
Right, yeah.
We had a practice match every week, so our training was largely playing games. So by the time we got to the championship, we were sort of match fit, and we were winning all the practice matches, and we just continued winning throughout the year.
I remember, well, Damien came out and picked the ball off the ground. I was going out, and Damien was in front of me, and he bent down, he picked the ball, and John Maloney didn't see him do it, but the umpire did. And it was the umpire that won the match for us, really. And he called in John Maloney, and so John Maloney came in and awarded a free. It wasn't a penalty, no, it was a free. And I remember son after running with the ball to me, and he took it out under his shirt and he handed me a dry ball. And I said, that's grand, but he forgot to take the wet ball. So I remember pawing or footing, if you like, trying to get the ball behind me to put down the dry one to hit it. And Damien copped it again, of course, and he ran out and he let fly and dropped the dry ball out over the well side. And there was a bit of a commotion then, and I thought for a minute that the ref was going to throw in the ball, or I didn't know what way I was going to go, and next thing he told me that you'll have to hit it with the ball that was in play. So...
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history, yeah. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable now, and there was people crying. I remember Jimmy Carroll at Connacht Street, and Jimmy came over to me, and you could see the tears coming down his eyes. And Jimmy had actually won the six medals with Birr from 38 to 48, and it was unbelievable.
That team was a good team, and we were always competing. And in 75, we drew a final and lost the replay. And was it with the final we lost in 74 as well?
The final in 74 as well, yeah.
So it was a good team. We were just that little bit short of Rhinos.
But as regards club, I mean, they won it awfully hurling for 12, 14 years.
That Banner team, Barney Mylan, with Damien, of course, Padjo, Wheelahan, Basil Johnson. Basil had a good few battles with Basil. Podge Mulhare, of course.
And Joe Dooley, he was...
Oh, Joe
Yourself
Dooley,
and Joe used to have it for years there.
Yes, we had what you'd call battles.
But the both teams knew one another so well. Like we knew one another since we were minors, and we played in every championship. I think every championship I nearly won it against Banner, you know.
We had great fun. Great fun. That was the time when we go to play a practice match down in Moneygall or Kilrowan and we wouldn't come home immediately after.
Great camaraderie, great friendship.
Yes, great friendship. I think the whole thing changed in the early 60s with Brother Dennis arriving. He changed our outlook as to what our expectations were, or should be. Maybe should be, as I think from... But, and after that, the training was different, and our horizons were certainly risen a good bit. And he brought the Offaly from way down up to competitive with every team in the country. And each club then improved as well. And add to that then Brother Vincent was producing them one after the other in the national school.
He was.
And those teams then started to win at underage levels, and from there on it was just a roller coaster. That board team, every day you had a different fella starring. The man of the match was, any of them could be the man of the match, and it changed regularly. The fella that you'd least expect to be the man of the match could be the next day. And one great game after another, you know, playing the Leinster Championship and then playing the All-Ireland Series, but we had a great time. Yes, I remember Sean Robbins very well. He was an elderly gentleman when I was a toddler, but I do remember him, and he always came across to me as being a very nice man. Now, I didn't know him other than he was an old man and I was a youngster, and he was involved with the GAA. I think he was the chairman of the county board, if I'm subject to correction, but I think he was the chairman of the county board, and he was always involved down around the pitch at the time. But he died when I was a youngster.
Yeah, it was the same with me. I can just remember him coming in around the field. I remember he used to wear a soft hat, and he was an elderly gentleman, and as Dick was saying, I can't remember any particular conversation I had with him now, but I know that we all held him in high esteem anyway. He was a lovely man, really.
Two Birr Club members who have nigh on 100 years' service to the club between them recount their experiences of life in the club in the 1960s and 70s.
I remember in the 71, when we were having the celebrations, we had a contact with the 1912 team that first won the club championship. Decady Sharkey. And it was Decady Sharkey. Peter King had a connection with the 48 team.
The 48 team.
And Declan with the 71. The three of them had their hands on the cup at the one function. So the gap, it was there the whole time up along. We were in hard luck in the 50s. After 48, Drumcullen's beat us in 51, wasn't it? Joe Dooley's sideline poke put over the bar, and that won that for them.
I was kind of talked into it, like, I called into a meeting like her, and Brother Dennis said like that he'd be doing all the work, that he just wanted someone to help him out, like, things like that. And I thought nothing of him. And I liked the GAA, I liked the whole, and that's why I said I had Chancellor for a few years. Naturally enough, the greatest memory was when we won the county final after 23 years, 71, like, we were given no hope that year, like, the Rhinos were the team. And but we were quite confident that we could do it, like.
I suppose, like all the rest of the poor lads, heart was in her mouth at the time. He wanted that. You didn't see nothing until the back of the net shook and the water came off the back of the net, and that was it. You had it won then.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even lads just erupted, and
you couldn't even see the ball going in for so dark, like, no. But to tell you how dedicated they were now, Tom O'Shea, Kilkenny man now, Fleming. Now Tom, if he wanted, he could drink any device under the counter. Everyone knows that. He gave up the drink for a month to win that county final. He handed me the keys to his car that day, going into the match. Hold on to him, he says, I'll let you know when I want him. He didn't come back from for a week afterwards.
So there was great excitement after.
Oh, what's that?
We were lucky that Father Carey came on the scene. Father Carey was a curate in late Father Carey. He was a curate in Roscrea, and he was transferred to Birr. He got in with Son Rafter, and the father were two selectors along with himself, and he was managing it, and he gelled us together and held on to us. And Ken came to me then, and I was kind of down the dumps, and he said to me, I want you as a selector. And I says, oh, Ken, I don't think so. Yes, you can, he said. So I went on board with him then, and he says to me, I says to him, who's the other selector? And he said to me, I'm going down for Brother Vincent. So we went to the monastery for Brother Vincent. And Brother Vincent says, lads, I can't do it, and I'd love to do it. He says, but I can't tell you. He says, you know later on. And I says to him then, I says, hey, brother, who would you
recommend
to do the job. And he said to me, next stop, he says, Padge's. For the first time we both against Buffer's Alley and Tony Doran.
Yeah.
Tony Doran was playing.
Two Doran, Tony and...
Yeah. But, and Dottie got put off. Yeah. We hadn't Dottie for the final against Shamrocks. Yeah. So we had a man picked all right, but we weren't saying that until he got at the warm-up and just tell him he was playing then. Because if we let him know before that, he would have been got to him and people would have been slapping him on the back. And so Ray Landy went in and Ray Landy turned the game on his head. And it was the only time that a Birr team ever beat Shamrocks in a Leinster final. Winning the minor All-Ireland in '86, beating Cork. You know, I'm beating Northmon in the colleges A final.
Yeah.
You know, I'm been in the A final the year before with Flannans. Flannans beating us in '85.
It started with Brother Vince in the national school, and they moved on to the secondary school then, and Brother Dennis was there and all them, and they kept bringing them on.
Horry Horn was there.